Hey y'all, it's Jon Ray, and today I'm doing a mystical interpretation of Genesis 1:14 through 19, where God sets the sun, moon, and stars in the sky. And these aren't just cosmic decorations, they're symbols of rhythm, timing, and trust. And if you've ever been practicing manifestation using imagination, prayer, or assumption, you've probably asked yourself, why hasn't this thing manifested yet? Like, why hasn't it happened yet? Did I do something wrong? And the answer is usually no, you're not doing it wrong. You just haven't understood the role of cycles in the manifestation process. Neville Goddard taught that once you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, your world begins to reorganize itself. But that reorganization moves in patterns, just like seasons, just like moon phases. And Federico Fagan reminds us that consciousness is dynamic. It moves through intelligence, intention, and rhythm. And so this passage in Genesis shows you that the moment you create something, you also create the timing mechanisms that guide it. So let's dive into the scripture. In Genesis 1:14, God said, "There will be lights in the expanse of the sky to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years." And so this verse is telling you something, or all of us, something subtle but powerful. You need structure. You can't just have vision, but there needs to be rhythm, consistency, and pacing. And the lights in the sky, the sun, moon, and stars, represent awareness markers, moments of clarity or insight or feedback, the synchronicity that starts to show up. Think about this. Have you ever had a month where you were doing everything right? You know, you're journaling, you're visualizing, you're doing your imaginal act, staying in the state of consciousness of the wish fulfilled, but nothing externally seems to be happening. And then as you continue in your process, suddenly you get a sign. A person says exactly what you've been feeling, or you see repeating numbers on the clock, or some door opens that represents a confirmation of your path for you. That's a light in the sky. That's a sign in your cycle. And this verse is about learning to watch for those so that you don't always have to be panicking in the dark. Genesis 1:15 says, "And let them be for lights in the expanse of the sky to give light on the earth." And it was so. This is about letting your inner awareness guide your outer experience. The lights in the sky represent elevated consciousness, your higher understanding of where you're at in the process. Think about it like this. You've planted a seed through your assumption. You're living from the wish fulfilled, and the seed is underground. You can't see it growing yet. But if you were to keep checking your inner sky, your state of being, you're always going to know where you're at in the process. You're always going to have a recognition on your heart that you're moving in the right direction, that things are working for you, that God's hand is moving in your favor. And that's when you stop asking, where's my result? And that's when you start asking, what season am I in? Is this a rooting phase? Is this a blooming phase? Is this a shedding phase? This is what this verse is all about. You don't need to have proof right away. You need alignment with whatever cycle you're currently in. And Genesis 1:16 says, God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He also made the stars. And so the greater light is your conscious clarity, the feeling of certainty, confidence, action, where the lesser light is your subconscious wisdom. It's quiet, hidden, but it's still guiding you even in the dark. And the stars in the sky, those are your intuitive pulses, the small signals that remind you that you're still on the right track. So you've probably felt that, there are days when you feel fully lit up, motivated, inspired, on fire with God, full of clarity. That's the sun. But then there's also those nights, those seasons of stillness or uncertainty where things feel slow or silent. And even there, you have a moon. There's a reflection, a dream, a gut feeling. And in times of night, that's where we go into a somatic process of feeling our big feelings, of sitting with the discomfort, hovering over it as awareness, not making it mean something, and transmuting that back into the larger light. So the lesser light can be transmuted into conscious understanding. And this is us learning our identity in God. And so this verse is here to say that all phases of the journey are governed by light, even the dark ones, because even the subconscious, there's a glimmer of the moon that's calling you forward towards conscious awareness of the territory that's being given to you. So in Genesis 1:17-18, God set them in the expanse of the sky to give light to the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. God saw that it was good. So this is the moment when you begin to trust the system. Everything that we're learning about the manifestation process, about our co-creative ability with God flowing life through us, this is the system that we learn to trust. And in this moment, you've set your vision in place. You're watching your state of consciousness, as awareness. You're hovering over the deep. You're measuring not by panic, but by your own awareness. And this is emotional maturity. You're not having knee-jerk reactions to your fear. Rather, you recognize a higher truth. And in that higher awareness, you're able to allow the transmutational process of any base level energies or emotions within you. You stop asking, why isn't this thing here yet? And you start saying, my assumption is moving. My sky is set. I know what time it is. And this isn't passive. This is actually what powerful alignment looks like. You're not just creating something, you're creating the calendar by which it grows. You wouldn't plant a seed as a farmer and then come out the next day and stomp on the ground and say, gosh darn it, why isn't this thing growing? And so as you plant seeds, you want to understand the process of how these things happen. And as you start to see sprouts or evidence of your seeds growing, even in the smallest form, that's when you want to acknowledge that. And that's God saying that it was good. And you should do that same thing as you begin to see evidence of your desires and the things, the territory that God is giving you starting to show up even in their smallest forms. So Genesis 1:19 says, there was evening and there was morning, and that was the fourth day. And so remember, evening always comes first. You imagined it before you lived it. You trusted it in the dark before it made sense in the light. And you may say, well, I haven't been imagining anything and my life sucks. Well, your worry, fear, these are visualization processes. And so what you're not consciously choosing as a higher state ends up playing out as a lower state. And so you're always imagining something because you're always being something. You're always recognizing you're something. And so you have to learn to trust that the things that you create in the dark will start to make sense in the light. And this fourth day is where you finally settle into a pace, a practice, a recognition. You begin to trust the system and you walk by signs and seasons, not by stress and scarcity. You start to know who you are and you know how to read your own sky. And this is you being the observer, being awareness, melding with the I am awareness so that you can see what's happening inside of you and recognize the transmutational process. So let's do a prayer practice to anchor this. We're going to call this Walk by the Lights. And this practice is for when you're doubting the process, when it's been weeks or months or years and nothing's popped up. So we're going to close our eyes. We're going to take a deep breath. And we're going to picture a sky overhead. And this is our inner sky. And see the sun. And the sun in your sky is your conscious belief systems. And now, kind of on the other side, I want you to see the moon. And that's your quiet knowing. And then fill the sky as if you're hovering over the earth and you're looking out into space. You see the sun on one side, the moon on the other side. Now fill your sky with stars. And these stars are your signs, synchronicities, the subtle reminders that you get daily from Spirit showing you that you're on the right track. And now in this space of observing these things, of being pure awareness, say to yourself, I don't need to force the harvest. I walk by light, by rhythm, not rush. I know what season I'm in. And this is how you keep going. This is how you hold the vibration long enough for form to catch up with what you know yourself to be. In our next video, we're going to explore the creation of living creatures and what it means to bring movement, energy, and life into the vision you've been building inside. So if you want to make sure that you get that email when the next video is released, or if you want to request a Bible verse interpretation, head to BibleMystic.com. Remember, the Bible is a code book for doing wizard stuff in co-creation with God. And if you've ever felt like nothing was happening, even though you know you've been planting the right seeds, like, comment, and subscribe. Let's grow in community. Share it in the comments below. What season are you in right now, and what signs are showing up to guide you? We'll see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.